participating virtually and to take precautions during the latest COVID outbreak. PSTA has developed several methods of ensuring the ability of the public to comment prior to and during virtual meetings. It has established these options. During the meeting, the public can provide their comments via telephone by calling 415-655-0002. The meeting ID is 2312-396-7943. Individuals will be able to speak for 3 minutes during the public comment period. Again, to make a public comment today during the meeting, members of the public should call the number and meeting ID on your screen at this time. The second option allowed is for the public to submit written comments prior to the meeting by mail to PSTA. The third option allows the public to submit comments by email before or during a public meeting. And that email is publiccomments at psta.net. Just want to reconfirm that we do not have any public comment at this time on the phone line. Clarissa?
There's no public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. All right. All right, so let's go to our call to order. For the record, I would like to confirm that you can speak and see each other. So we'll do a quick roll call, starting with Roman. Okay. Andrea Barron. Please respond here. Thank you, Andrea.
I'm here.
Jay James.
She looks frozen.
Okay. Chelsea Schneider.
Here.
Maxwell Johnson.
Here.
Harry Dunphy.
Here.
Arno.
Here.
Elizabeth Holden. Ken Rankine.
Here.
Gloria.
Here.
Mark Boyce.
Here.
Carla Correa. I know Mark's here. And Ed Klump.
Hey, Mark. Hey.
Okay, Roman's checking in.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And are there any members whose name I did not call?
You called mine, but y'all can hear me right now.
We can hear you. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Wonderful. All right, so we'll move on to number 3 on our to-do list today, and that's the chairperson's report. Again, good afternoon, TRAC members and panelists. In the interest of time, I'll briefly mention the topics covered at the June 2022 PSTA board meeting. Debbie Lee has announced a perfect tri-annual review was completed by PSTA, and the board unanimously approved the annual health benefits plan for all PSTA employees. With that, we'll now move on to area number 4 of our to-do list, and that's the information items. And first up to bat is members of staff who are going to speak about Direct Connect and the Transit app. 2 people I know personally, Bonnie Epstein and Jacob.
Awesome, thank you so much, Mark. Good afternoon, TRAC Committee. I'm Bonnie Epstein, Director of Mobility, and I will start off the presentation on Direct Connect. I just want to make sure, Jacob, you're good to go after my section?
Yep, I'm good to go. Thanks, Bonnie.
Awesome. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So I wanted to go over a little bit about our Direct Connect program that we offer at PSTA. I know that we have a lot of new TRAC committee members. I think it had come up at a previous meeting that some people were unfamiliar with this program and wanted just a quick overview. This is a program that we started in actually February of 2016. It was our first program that we offered with Uber and our TNC partnerships. That's how we kind of paved the way for our TD late shift service and mobility on demand. So we've had it running for a few years and have gone through a few iterations, but I'll just go through kind of how the program operates today. So at its most basic level, our Demara Connect program is a first last mile program to get riders to and from PSCA's fixed route system, specifically wanting to get riders to and from the core route network. So that's our routes that run the most frequently, like Route 4, 59, just getting people to and from those core routes. We currently have providers like Uber, United Taxi, Lyft, and wheelchair transport that you can get on demand. So the way the program works is the trip has to start or end at one of 26 Direct Connect locations throughout Pinellas County. And a Direct Connect location is either an intersection where transit is running. So the one that's actually, I think, closest to where I live is 4th Street and 22nd Avenue North. So you've got the Route 4 running along 4th Street, the 22 that runs along 22nd. So there are intersections where we've got transit, where you can get on and off at a bus stop there, or some of our transit centers are Direct Connect locations. So we have Grand Central as a Direct Connect location. Here at PSCA, the Lay-By is a Direct Connect location, Park Street Terminal, Pinellas Park Transit Center. Those are all Direct Connect locations. And the subsidy that PSCA pays is the first $5 of the trip on Uber, Lyft, or United Taxi, and then $25 off the trip on wheelchair transport. So riders take the trip from where they are to a Direct Connect location. PSCA covers the first $5 of the trip, and then the rider finishes the rest of their trip on transit on one of our core routes or fixed routes, and then the reverse. They can take transit, get off the bus at a Direct Connect location, and then take Uber, Lyft, taxi, or wheelchair the rest of the way. We go to the next slide. There is a video on our Direct Connect webpage. So I've included the link here, but if you just go to the PSCA website, you can either look up Direct Connect or it's one of the banners that goes across the webpage, and then just copy and paste this information in about how to use the program with each provider. So you just decide if you want to ride with Uber, Lyft, United Taxi, or wheelchair transport. So there's a voucher link for Uber. It'd be best to get it from the PSA website. If you have a smartphone and you have the Uber app, if you go to the PSA website and click on this voucher link, while you're on your phone, it'll automatically add the Direct Connect voucher to your account. With Lyft, you just go into the promo section of your Lyft app and just type Lyft to PSCA to get the voucher for Lyft. United Taxi and wheelchair transport, just call the phone number, the phone number is listed here, and then request a Direct Connect trip, and the dispatchers should know exactly what to do from there. You go to the next slide. I just have a few screenshots of how the Direct Connect service looks in both Uber and Lyft, because for United Taxi and wheelchair transport, it's pretty straightforward. Just call and say, I want to get picked up at the Grand Central Direct Connect location, or the 4th Street and 22nd Avenue North Direct Connect location, and they'll be able to help you. But with Uber and Lyft, just have to make sure that you add the voucher correctly. So I have the first screenshot here is just where you can add the voucher, or like I said, go to our website while you're on your smartphone and just click that link, and it'll add the voucher to your Uber account. Then when you're hailing the ride in Uber, just type in as either the origin or the destination one of the Direct Connect locations. So Uber can be a little finicky. Always try to make sure that you type the direct connect location, if you know, either the origin or the destination, exactly as it appears on our website. Otherwise, sometimes you might not get the discount. And then just choose the PSTA option, and for the payment at the bottom of the screen, just make sure you selected the business profile or the PSTA Direct Connect. You'll see it you know, at the bottom to be able to cover the $5 off the trip. So that's Uber. If you go to the next slide, just have a little bit of information on Lyft. So the first screenshot is how you add the Lyft pass for Direct Connect.
Hold on.
I already have it on there, so it is showing up. That's just in the settings of the Lyft app. Pretty straightforward to add there. And then when you hail the ride, this is showing just a pickup here from PSTA as the pickup address, going to the McDonald's across the street. But you just put in your origin and destination. The Direct Connect location needs to be either the origin or destination, and then you'll see there with the strike-through price, the $5 off.
Okay, go ahead.
For this screenshot, I chose just the standard Lyft. They do have some savings. If you say that you could wait a while, they'll take the $5 off of that price as well. And then you just, if you were to hail the trip, just click select Lyft and you get a ride. I think that's all I have for just the general Direct Connect overview. I think we go to the next screen. Jacob will take over.
So right now,
Great,
so
thanks,
active,
Bonnie.
so
Hello, everybody. So I'm
what's
Jacob
the
from
meeting?
West Senior Planner here at PSTA.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be talking about some of the latest and greatest things with Transit App. And we thought that this would be a great transition because Bonnie just gave a great overview of what booking a Direct Connect trip
So
is like
default
today.
is just one
So
screen.
now we're going to look at what booking a Direct Connect trip might be like in the future. So we received a grant recently from FTA from what's called the Accelerating Innovative Mobility Program, or AIM program. So some of you might remember the Sandbox program through FTA. We won a grant award 2 years ago for our Mobility on Demand program. So the AIM program is essentially the sequel to the sequel to the sequel of Sandbox, if you will. It's gone through a few iterations since then. So we received $120,000 from FTA to integrate our Direct Connect program with Uber and Lyft. We know about 85 to 90% of our Direct Connect ridership is through those two TNCs. So we're going to work with Transit App to integrate Uber and Lyft, integrate that into the Transit App platform to make it a little more seamless to plan, pay for both your Direct Connect trips. So shown here are a couple screenshots that I took. This is an interface out of a trip planned in Chicago. You'll see on the left, so here are some various trip options. So you see the top called Transit Plus. So these are multimodal trips that combine transit and other modes like bike share and TNCs. So there's a third option on the bottom with a company called Curb, which is kind of just another version of Uber and Lyft that operates in select markets. So say you select that one, and then the screen in the middle appears, and then so it shows you what that trip looks like from, so here's an example of a trip on the L, train Chicago.
Yep, I see it.
Where you take that for a little while, and then transfer to a Curb vehicle, again here with Uber and Lyft. And then on the third screen, a little further down on the trip plan, it shows you how you would make that connection
Appreciate it, man.
to the TNC. And so you see there where it says request Curb, so for us it would say request Uber or request Lyft. And then it would take you to the Uber and Lyft platform, assuming you have it already downloaded on your app. And then it would auto-populate the Uber or Lyft platform with all of your trip information. So that way, you already know through the Transit App trip planner that it is a qualifying Direct Connect trip, and in addition that the promo code will already be included. So it's going to take you to the Uber or Lyft app, and you'll be able to immediately, as soon as it pops up, press the button and be able to hail your ride. So we're really looking forward to being able to start this partnership, this program with Transit App. So we actually have an item on the Finance Committee meeting tomorrow. We have 2 agreements between TSK and Transat that we're expected to be approved this month. And once they're approved, we expect it to take about roughly 5 or 6 months for Transat to fully complete this integration. So we're hoping to be able to debut this either towards the end of this year or early next year. We're really excited to be able to kind of take this as the next step for Direct Connect to make it even more seamless in your trip planning experience. Next slide, please. So I'm going to go into a couple other latest and greatest things with Transat, and many of you have probably already seen this pop up. So there's a new thing that Transat has debuted called Transit Royale. So this is essentially their new subscription service product that allows riders to maintain access to all of the existing features within Transat, but also makes available new features such as so they have something called like a leaderboard where you can compare your riders to others. There's some customizations you can do in your own profile. And in addition, PSK will actually be able to incorporate its own branding into the platform so it's even more recognizable to our ridership as a PSK endorsed app. So in many markets across the country, in larger cities, people would typically pay for this at a rate of about $4.99 per month. However, PSK plans to kind of pay monthly to Transat for Transit Royale, and it'll be given on behalf of all riders, on behalf of PSK to all of our riders. So Transat has already started releasing this to our riders. We're going to make this officially available, or make an official announcement rather, once these AIM agreements are executed. And then something that's really great is that once the AIM integration goes live to where you can book, utilize Transat to help book your Direct Connect trip, they are actually going to provide this to us basically free of charge for the length of the AIM grant funding. So we're going to have that integration that I talked about in the last slide paid for through this FTA grant for a period of about 3 years. So essentially, for 3 years, PSK is not going to have to pay for the base cost of Transit Royale. So that's a really great opportunity to be able to partner with Transat and be able to give out Transit Royale to all of our riders. And so with Transit Royale, beyond the base functionalities of it, Transat is also making some other optional features available, some of which the PSK is looking into. So I'm going to go ahead and describe some of those. Next slide, please. So one of the things I know is of interest, and maybe places around the country have already started to do it, is to integrate mobile ticketing into trip planning apps. So of course, many of you likely know and utilize our Flamingo Fares mobile payment app. So I know something that I know a dream of mine personally, and as well as your dream with the SBA, is to be able to integrate our Flamingo Fares app into the Transat platform, so we can kind of get further closer to that mobility as a service vision to have one fully integrated app. So currently, this functionality does not exist today within the Transat platform, but Transat does have partnerships with mobile fare payment providers across the country. So shown here is an example out of Columbus, Ohio, to where shown at the bottom of the screen, it shows the agency's logo as well as Ride Now. And so there they have a similar system that we do to where they would add funds to a mobile wallet. So we aspire to get to a place where we can have this sort of integration. So I know Transat has not yet integrated with the company in it, who powers our mobile fare payment system. However, we've been able to basically have them start talking to each other so we can figure out what sort of work effort it will be just from a process perspective as well as from a financial perspective to be able to make this integration possible. So this is definitely something that we're looking at and we hope to debut into the future. So we'll definitely plan to bring this more information back to you as we have it on this type of integration. Next slide, please. So something else that we are currently doing with Transat, so they have debuted something called the Rider Happiness Benchmark. So this is essentially there's going to be a quarterly questionnaire that, so we're one of about, I want to say 8 to 10 agencies, so we're on a committee essentially with about 8 to 10 other transit agencies that also endorse Transat as their preferred trip planning app. And so essentially we're making a survey of about 10 to 15 questions or so every quarter in order to sort of gauge the happiness of our ridership. So there's going to be, some questions that are always going to be on this survey, such as the basic customer satisfaction, on-time performance, rider demographics. But in addition, there's some questions that may vary by season or just by, the current state of affairs. So, there may be some questions about COVID-19 and people's risk assessment regarding that. This is sort of a great opportunity to sort of be able to gauge now and again how our riders feel about certain issues. So probably over the next couple of months, you'll likely start to see this sort of questionnaire pop up within the platform. Next slide, please. So something else that TransApp has started to do, and for the moment they've given us a free trial of, is what's called Rate by Ride. So this is essentially a kind of enhanced version of what was on the previous slide, to where there are a series of pop-up questions that will pop up every time a rider utilizes the Go feature within TransApp. So for those of you that don't know, the Go feature is kind of like how in Google Maps, if you put in a destination and you hit start and it kind of gives you step-by-step GPS-based instructions. The Go feature is essentially like that, but just within the TransApp platform. So for anybody that utilizes that Go feature, there's a new series of just a few questions that pop up at different stages of the trip. So you'll just see here, there's a series of 5 questions that are asked. So when you're at the stop, when you press the Go button, the first question it's going to ask is the stop acceptable? And then once you're on the bus, it's going to ask, is the vehicle crowded? People wearing masks, and the vehicle come on time? And the last question is, what is your overall rating for the ride on a scale of 1 to 5? So again, this is something that's just being offered as a free trial, and this would require a fairly significant investment. But at least for the time being, we can kind of just have this as a trial and get some preliminary data just to see how some of our riders are answering some of these questions. And so if you go to the next slide, I kind of picked some sample data from 2 of the questions of response rates that we've gotten from our own system so far. So shown here is a graph of responses to the on-time performance question. So this is a period of mostly the month of June, a little bit into early July, but essentially about a month's worth of responses. So you'll see the purple line at the top is respondents who said that my bus came on time. So basically, as you can see in the graph, roughly about 65 to 75% of riders say that their bus comes on time. And then the other line, blue is early and green is late. The remaining 25 to 30% say that their bus either comes early or late. So I think something that, at least would be a personal interest to me would be to compare, what our on-time performance is, based from our automatic vehicle locators to our clever devices. And it'd be interesting to compare that to what people perceive the on-time performance to be just based on their experience of taking transit. Again, that's just, and something that I thought of that would be of interest, but it's just interesting to see how riders perceive the on-time performance to be of transit vehicles. Next slide, please. So I took one more group of responses for the question of trip rating. So again, at the end of every trip, assuming the rider still has the Go feature turned on, riders will be able to rate their trip on a scale of 1 to 5, or as shown on the graph here, on a scale of total nightmare to Beyonce. So it's a TransApp way of clearly identifying the numerical system. But in any case, so shown here, so this is a pretty similar period of time to the chart zone on the last slide. So shown here, roughly about 75% of riders who respond to this give their ride a 5-star experience. So that's, initially great news. So we can say the majority of our riders think that they have a 5-star experience riding our buses, which is definitely the thing we want to hear. An additional 10 to 15% say that it's pretty good, so again, not too bad. So we can say that about 85 to 90% of these responses are overall pretty positive. And so the remaining 10% or so responses are, 1 to 3. And so we obviously, want to, do what we can to, make that, decrease to the extent possible, because we, of course, want our riders to have that 5-star experience. And so something that I'm actually going to follow up with TransApp on is to dig into this data a little more to see if there's either certain times of day or certain routes where people maybe aren't having a 4 or 5-star experience. But I just wanted to kind of give you a brief overview of this just to show some of the data that we're looking at right now based on that new Rate by Ride feature, which I'm sure many of you have seen throughout your transit trips utilizing the TransApp platform. And so with that, we would love to turn back to you, Chair, and Bonnie and I are happy to take any questions that you'll have.
All right, thank you very much. My question was, are all of us have the TRAC committee to be able to use this transit Royale thing? Like, would all of us automatically get it, or do we have to do anything? What's the process for that?
Yeah, so basically, and some of you may have already seen this already, but when you open the transit app, I guess once it goes live, if it hasn't gone live for you already, it's essentially, there may be like a pop-up, you might scroll up and it'll say something like, PSTA is, proud to give Riders Transit Royale, I'm paraphrasing, it'll say something like that, and then you'll, press enroll or get started, something like that. So it's basically just a tap of a button and then it's automatically turned on for you.
Okay. Because I tried doing it, but I got something like I don't know. You gotta send an email to PSTA and have them activate it for you. I'll just go in and try it again, though.
Okay, well that's good to know, and I'm thank you for the feedback, because once we are executing these AIM agreements, we're going to start putting out official press releases and other things to let people know about it. So we'll make sure that we put kind of step-by-step instructions and make sure people know exactly how to redeem that.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else on the committee have questions in regards to Direct Connect or the update to Transit app? Okay. All right, thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Jacob. Wonderful presentation. We're glad to have that information. With that, we're going to be moving on to Cassandra, and she is going to discuss the upcoming service changes that will take place in October.
So, as you know, we are very excited about the Sunrunner launch in October. Yay, we've announced a date. We're so excited. October 21st, you will all get invitations to the grand opening. Bob, please make sure that happens. On the list, make sure all our TRAC members, it'll be that morning. But with that, we'll also have some changes that we have planned for a couple of other routes, and these have been planned all along to happen simultaneously with the opening of the Sunrunner. I think you're running the slides, right, Bob? Okay. So just as a reminder, the Sunrunner will operate 7 days a week from downtown St. Petersburg to the beaches. It'll run every 15 minutes, starting at 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And after 8 p.m., we'll run every 30 minutes. And that's a lot of additional service for this corridor. Next slide, please. At the same time, we are mirroring what is happening on the Central Avenue trolley. So we're going to reduce that service from its current 20-minute service to a 30-minute service. Remember, you'll have the Sunrunner operating every 15 and this running every 30. So it's really a lot of additional service overall, but just a little bit less on the Central Avenue trolley. It'll be about 6:30 when the trips will end at 75th and Gulf out at St. Pete Beach. And that section, at that time, the section from 75th and Gulf down to the County Beach Park will only be served by the Sunrunner after about 6:30 p.m. So overall, this is about a third of a reduction of the CAT. But again, overall, there's a lot more service hours coming towards the corridor with the Sunrunner. Next slide, please. The other change sort of in this system is that we'll be truncating our service on the Route 18 at Grand Central. So the service will generally stay the same in terms of the frequency from Clearwater to Tyrone and down to Grand Central, but just a little bit of a reduction. Weekdays will be about 11%, Sundays will be about 19% change. There'll still be plenty of ways to get into downtown from Grand Central, but if you're taking the 18, you'll have to transfer if you're going beyond Grand Central. Next slide, please. So again, here is the system overall. So we're still having the same coverage, in fact, better coverage, better service overall for the corridor, just the changes to the CAT and to the Route 18. Because of this change, it's required that we do have a public hearing. Next slide, please. And so we have planned a public hearing for I think it's later, is it later this month, early next? I think the date's in the back.
August 11th.
August 11th. Thank you very much, Bob. But again, we are currently in the corridor, we have about 76,000 hours of service, and when all done, we'll have just under 96,000. So a good chunk of new service in this corridor. Next slide, please. Oh, that's it. So August 11th, we will have our public hearing for these service changes. Wanted to let you all know first so that if you wanted to make a comment about those changes, we have put these in our financial plan for the Sunrunner the whole time. The FTA is well aware of these changes as part of what we're calling the system for the Sunrunner. And with that, I will take any questions that you might have.
All right, does anybody on the panel have any questions for Cassandra about the service changes?
Wow. Speechless. Everybody's excited about the Sunrunner. They don't want to jinx it.
Right, exactly.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
I am a little concerned about the 18 stopping at Grand Central and not proceeding to downtown.
Okay.
I, for one, live on 4th Street, south of downtown, so I very much require the ability to get from Central to downtown as quickly as possible, as often as possible.
So we will still have the CAT available. So you will be able to take that. There are a number of other routes that use that First Ave North and First Ave South. And at least for the first 6 months, we are planning to provide fareless service on the Sunrunner. So there will be no fares on the Sunrunner for the first 6 months of operation.
Understood. I'm concerned, but not very concerned.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Anything else? All right, so now we're going to move into the member comment section. I have something that I would like to share with the group and staff that I saw on Facebook from one of my friends. So as you can see here, this is First Avenue North. We're looking obviously out towards the beach. Here's a Sunrunner station, and here's an 18 stopped, and it's blocking this lane, and there's only one lane to get by, and this person in the car is stuck. And I know I mentioned something about this at the last meeting when we were talking about, you know, would other buses running on First Avenue North be using the Sunrunner station? So we're running into a problem here where now people can't get by. I know there's also been people in the community who are upset about the stations and they're there. Somebody ran into one. My opinion of that is, how could you miss it? It's like hitting a parked car. But going back to, and we don't have any, is PSTA in saying we, meaning us, you know, obviously that made no sense at all, sorry. What I'm trying to get at is, this is something we have control over. People hitting a bus station is not something we have control over. Is this something that can be addressed?
So we purposely built the Sunrunner stations to accommodate right side running buses so that we, if for whatever reason we needed to add service to the Sunrunner or have other limited stop services, they could use the lane and use the stations. It wasn't our intention to have all buses run stops, right, on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side, because you do have some local routes that use the First Aves, You don't want them leaving from one side of the roadway to the other.
Exactly.
But it is something that, for those particular stops that are right at Sunrunner stations, it is something that we can look at removing those local stops that are directly across from Sunrunner stations so that that congestion doesn't happen.
Or move it up a block or back a block.
Right,
So
right.
49th Street is, you gotta have 18 stopping somewhere near 49th Street. So maybe putting it before the traffic light.
Yeah, so maybe Bob, put that in your notes and we'll have maybe Raj or Devin take a look at that.
Yeah, because like I said, you have to have 18 stopping at 49th Street because people want to get on 52. Or to transfer to the Sunrunner.
Right, but you can make it so that it's not like right on top of each other.
So it doesn't bottleneck, yeah, right. Yeah, all right, I just wanted to make sure that was something that was known, because I'm seeing, as somebody who lives in St. Pete and has a lot of friends in St. Pete, I'm seeing a lot of feedback, both positive and questioning,
Sure.
the Sunrunner.
Well, you know, every service change, we say, give it 2 weeks. Right, like every single time, give it 2 weeks and everything will settle down. And there isn't a single service change that I have been at for PSTA in the last 10 years where that didn't happen. Give it, once it opens, give it 2 weeks and everything will settle.
Yeah, the other thing people are always seem to be vocal about is, how are they going to police people in these red lanes? And,
Well, we are working with St. Pete Police and the county sheriff. So they will be able to give people who are misusing the lanes citations. As Bob is working really hard to find contacts at Amazon and UPS and other deliveries who are using the red lanes.
yeah.
Well, so we're those things are being worked out, and again, we are working with law enforcement to.
Yeah, and it's funny, I'll end on this and then we'll go to Jay. It's like, for someone who lived in New York, and Mary Ann can attest to this, there's these lanes all over Manhattan with the red, and everybody knows, you just don't drive it. I mean, that's the way it is. They've never questioned it all of our lives. Now, all of a sudden,
Give it 2 weeks. As soon as we open, give it 2 weeks.
I like this response. All right, let's move on to Jay. You're unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Got it.
You can hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, okay. It's also about the Sunrunner. I personally have been getting frustrated. Some of my peoples who, do community work, making comments about the Sunrunner, specifically about the losing a lane of traffic on the First Ave. And I don't know I just tell people to wait, give it time, it'll be fine, it's not gonna affect traffic, because I counted for like 2-3 minutes when there was no traffic on First Avenue South, so clearly it's not gonna affect traffic. But like, is there gonna be any, additional publications or publicizing of it in a way that's not punitive about people telling people not to use the lanes? Like, showing the benefits of why the lanes are useful.
So the lanes can be used for turns, what might happen, so the changes to traffic will probably be that people will have to stick to the speed limit, because those two roadways have been used as very high-speed corridors, much higher than what they're designed for. And so it might just slow people down to the speed limit. Okay, so the other thing is that over the years of looking at this corridor, we've done 3 traffic studies to take a look at potential congestion issues based on the traffic volumes. Based on those traffic studies, what was determined is if we could maintain the turns, right, especially on the first half, the left-hand turns, then we wouldn't have the issues of congestion. If we had not allowed left-hand turns in those lanes, we might have had some issues. And so that's exactly why they are bus and turn lanes. And so people can still use them. I think people will get used to them. You can travel in them for about a block. So once you're signaling for the turn, you can get in the lane and basically you're getting out of the through lane traffic at that point in order to make your turn. And so we have taken an extensive look at that, and we think you'll be fine.
Yeah, I didn't know what you just said. So I don't know. My next thing is, I believe a meeting or two ago we talked about the display signs at Central Plaza or Grand Central Station, about how there's potentially going to be update the display signs. Is there any update on that process? Talking about the next bus arrival signs, and also on repairing some of the benches, because quite a few of the benches are broken out at Central, is what I was noticing.
I see Bob is making notes about the broken benches. I don't know that I don't know, Bob, maybe you have an update about this, about the next bus, but I think we're relying on Transit app to help us with that next bus technology, and I don't recall if we are replacing those signs. I don't know, Bob, do you remember?
Last I heard, they had found a hack. It had to do with the older USB system that was proprietary, and I thought it was going to be able to work. That's why I made the note. I want to get in touch with him and see where it stands, and I can get back to you.
Okay.
Thank you. Those signs are very important to many.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any comments or any other business that we need to address here at our July meeting?
I actually have two. One, I'm going to start with an apology. We forgot to put on the agenda to have people put their name in the hat for our vice chair, so we will do that next month. And there is a good side to that, our Sometimers disease, and that is that I want to welcome in Elizabeth Olden, welcome her back. Now, she did not get the notice for Zoom, but she's been following us, so she's watching. So it's wonderful to have her back, and then if she wants to throw her hat for vice chair next month, she's here to do that. So I think that'll be great. And really, those are the only two other things I wanted to bring up.
Awesome. Anybody else? Anything for the good of the group, good of the order?
I had one question.
Yes.
I've been riding PSTA for 10 years or so, and it's an intermittent problem that I notice, and it might be because I'm using an old system, but when you get to a bus stop and it's got a number, say 3467, I use the system on my phone 4111 to see how many minutes away the bus is, and maybe not too many people are using that now, I don't know. But anyhow, the reason I ask is many of the stops that I was to in the last couple of weeks don't have the numbers on them any longer for whatever reason. I don't know if it's an adhesive or whatever, but in the old days, people would write, handwritten, put the numbers back on. Yeah. I just didn't know if we had somebody that once in a while would look at those, because if you're using that system, maybe like it's only 1 in 10 use that 411 that I use, but I use Google too, but just as a habit, I use 41411 to see how many minutes away the bus is, and on Wilmington Road, for example, on the 59, there's one out in front of Frida's. It's a bakery place, and all the numbers are missing. I was just wondering if they are going to phase out the numbers, or if they can put the numbers back on some of these that are missing.
Can I add to what Mark was just saying? There are a number of times where I wanted to reference a bus stop, and there's no way of knowing that bus stop number except being at that bus stop. Is there, I mean, Google doesn't have it on Google Maps. Does PSTA have some way of doing that? Because I actually also like to reference those stops when I'm telling someone something about it.
So I thought that Google did.
No, not that I can find.
There are, it's hit and miss with Google.
Yeah.
I've found some, but not all. They are all in our real time. If you go to our website and go to Where's My Bus and use the PSTA real time, we have all of the stop numbers. You can select by location and then it'll bring up the stop number.
Okay.
Mark?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, just one comment on that. I use the app and it takes my location and automatically tells me approximately how long before the bus will be there. I found that to be very helpful. Of course, you have to have a smartphone and you have to have the app in and turned on.
Okay. Anything else that anybody would like to address?
I just figured the stop numbers would be kind of helpful if somebody could have
Yeah, I'll send a note to our amenities teams and see if they can't get out and either put on some new stickers or mark them properly. Because I'm curious about that too.
Okay.
Yeah, I have that problem as well.
Okay. All right, anything else that anybody would like to have addressed today? Okay.
Oh, I do have one small question. The bus stop at University Square in front of the Publix, I was wondering why the 20 doesn't stop there.
We'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Question in the chat, we have a dedicated team to clean sunrunner stations.
I don't believe we will have a singular dedicated team. We do outsource our cleaning of stops and stations. We have a contractor that does that. So we can ask Henry if they're going to send them more often to those stops. But we have a team for the county, our own personal team, and then is there our own PSTA team plus a contractor that will go and do special things like pressure wash and things like that. So we'll put that on the list to double check for you.
Okay.
About the frequency of the cleaning of the stations.
Okay. Anything else?
I had a quick comment about the cleaning of the stops. I just thought I'd mention that I've noticed in the last, say, 6 months, a great improvement on picking up trash and everything. So I think somebody's on it, they're doing way better than they were.
Good. We just also put out a bid for new trash collection that would include recycling. And so I'm not sure where that is right now, but we should have some news on that shortly.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Our next meeting, this meeting is adjourned, and our next meeting will be on August 16th, 2022 at 4 p.m. and we'll see you then.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night, all day.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye, thank you.
Thanks.